I didn't think there was any chance I would end up becoming a DJ. Stay kind of true to to kind of your product, and then try to make your product as valuable as possible. If you can get whatever you're selling to the point where it's so valuable, it's so big that it's too hard to ignore, then even if you're lacking in other areas like the marketing aspect, or the posting aspect, it'll still break through. Try to take the content that you enjoy, that you gravitate towards, and try to take the good bits and pieces that can apply to what you're trying to sell, what content you're trying to put out there. People know good music. So if you're playing good music, if you're being creative with it, like I said, novelty sells. So when they hear something that maybe sounds a little nostalgic, but you put a spin on it that makes it kind of tickle the brain in the right way, that will always be received well as well. Hey, it's DJ David, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Starry Lemon Lime Soda. Hey Dream Drivers, it's Raina here, and I've got something exciting to share with y'all today. You know we're always on a hunt for that perfect refreshment, and let me tell you, Starry Lemon Lime Soda hits different. There's something about that crisp, clear burst of lemon lime flavor that just brings the good vibes and great taste every time. And the best part, it's caffeine free, so you can enjoy it anytime, anywhere without the jitters. Whether you're catching up with friends, taking a moment for yourself, or just need a refreshing pick-me-up, a crisp, cold sip of Starry is like a little burst of in every can. It's the perfect companion for all those moments that make life sweet. So what are you waiting for? It's time to see other sodas. Go find Starry now in stores or online and experience that refreshingly crisp taste for yourself. Stay refreshed, stay dreaming, and let's get into this episode. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to this week's episode. So here's a question I want to ask you. Have you ever tried to post what you're doing on social media and you feel like no one's watching, no one's interested, no one's invested in it? I know I have, and I know a lot of you probably have done that as well. So this week's guest is DJ David, aka David Victor, and he is the founder and creator behind Club 1BD, those dance parties with the crazy transitions, crazy mixes, favorite songs that have been blown up all over social this year. I wanted to have David on the show because not only have I been a fan of his, I've been watching very keenly about how he's been able to really grab people's attention and build his brand by being very niche focused, right? So he's doing something exceptionally well, but also having his pulse on trends, having his pulse on the culture, and just leveraging all that. I also am always interested in the story behind the person. And so when digging deep, I've actually found out that David and I went to the same middle in high school. He went off to NYU, and just hearing about how he's managing this life as a creative, as, full-time employee. He's also still a DJ where he's DJing private events. This interview was special because I think it gave David an opportunity to reflect on how he got to where he is, and just hearing him speak so openly and so confidently about all the strategies that he's employing to really build this brand and to build himself is super inspiring and super encouraging. So I'm really excited for y'all all to hear this episode. We are Dreams and Drive across the board on all the social media platforms. If you love this episode, please share it, tag it, tag David, let people know that they need to come to Dreams and Drive to hear his full story because it's that good. All right, so let's buckle up and let's hear from David.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I am super excited to have you on. Not only is this your first podcast interview, I mean, like you're all over TikTok and the interwebs, right? But just excited to be able to share your dream driving journey. And I told you beforehand, I was going to tell you about how we have something in common, but I wanted to wait until we actually hit record. So in my research, I was trying to get prepared, make sure I knew about your journey, your background. I went on LinkedIn and I saw that we had someone in common, and I'm like, wait, the only reason why you would also have this person as a mutual friend is if you went to Dwight Inglewood, and that is your high school, and that's also the high school I graduated from. I'm a Dwight alum as well.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Wow. Yeah, no, it is a small world because I don't know I don't think I've crossed paths with anybody else who's been to that high school. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us. I mean, my whole friend group, but you graduated. I think you said, I think on LinkedIn it said 2015, and I graduated 2009. So I 2009. So our paths did not cross, but
Just miss each other.
it's just interesting, and like we're both Caribbean, right? Like I'm interested in hearing your journey and just how that all panned out, but it's interesting. So let's start there. Let's talk about childhood a little bit. I love to kind of go back in time and have our guests think about who they were as children. So the young David, 8 years old, what was inspiring you? What was the dream for you back then?
Wow. I would say at 8 years old, I was just active. Just looking for anything that would kind of spark the brain a little bit. Especially athletically, I was playing four sports back then.
At 8 years
On
old?
top, yeah, I was playing. They threw me in everything, even though it was mostly kind of like rec leagues and everything. I was playing basketball, baseball, soccer, and soccer is actually the one that I ended up sticking with, and I still play today as much as possible. But yeah, I wanted to be active. Also, my parents from a very young age, drilled in the importance of education. So I was always trying to be, mentally stimulated. And that, maybe wasn't as much by choice, but more so by parental influence. So I was playing chess a lot, growing up as well too. I also started playing with the Rubik's Cube pretty early. And I do like doing that as well. Just kind of mental kind of exerciser. So even at 8 years old, I was always kind of kept busy with, whether it was sports or, something academically related. 8-year-old me wasn't really thinking too much in the future, was just thinking about, how am I going to get kind of my fill and my activity for the next couple of hours.
Okay, okay. What was the dream for you back then as a kid?
That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure if I had one when I was, 8, 9 years old. Um, the athletic side of me just wanted to play some sort of professional sport. The academic side of me just wanted to, have ownership of something at some point. But I wasn't sure kind of in what vertical or what sector it would be in. And kind of, I would say, to be honest, my goals were very, very general at that time. But fortunately, they did mature with time.
It's interesting because I know, so Dwight Englewood, which is the high school we both went to, it's a very elite institution, right? Independent school, Northern New Jersey. How do you think going to an institution like that, where you probably were one of not a lot, right, of people of color, black men, how do you think that shaped who you were as a person? And I say that, so I started there in seventh grade. I'm not sure what year you started. What year did you start?
I started in fourth grade.
Oh, in fourth grade. Okay. So maybe our paths did cross. So if you were there in fourth and I was in 10th grade. All right. So
Yeah, yeah.
how do you think going to Dwight kind of shaped who you were as a person and your identity?
Maybe I'll answer it from the corporate side of things. So for
Okay.
those who don't know, I also work a 9 to 5, when I'm not DJing. Um, and at least kind of in my exposure to, in the corporate world, um, the demographic is predominantly white. So me going to schools for the majority of my infancy, my adolescence, where that demographic was reflected. I think it prepared me very well to navigate those spaces. Um, the difficulties, of course, were that being kind of my first introduction to kind of any kind of social landscape, and me feeling othered, me feeling like an outlier, and also just having trouble connecting, communicating with the majority of the people that I saw day in and day out. Um,
At
with
home
that
or at school?
I would say, I would say both, but mostly at school. Just because you spend the majority, as a kid, you spend the majority of your time at school. But at home, fortunately, my parents kept the culture very much alive, which was great because I never felt, like I never felt like I was, ever kind of lacking pride in both sides of my family and both cultures. But I also grew up in a very predominantly white neighborhood, a very white suburb. So, even kind of in my town, the faces that I was seeing didn't really look like mine. So, because of those experiences, I would say that, um, it was very interesting as I got older, as I ended up going to college, um, how I just ended up gravitating, towards people like me, who look more like me, who, thought more like me. But I never lost kind of the preparation that I feel I maybe indirectly got just by virtue of being in spaces with other people.
I love that you articulated it like that because it's often how I try to explain to people. Like, I went to Dwight, then went on to Princeton, and people are often like, how were you able to navigate it? I'm like, I had a really good, I think, learning ground of just being able to understand how the world works. Although identify as a Black woman, being able to navigate in those environments and having the social capital, the cultural capital, knowing sometimes how and when to code switch, right? Not saying that it's always good that you have to do it, but having the skill and, still feeling confident in whatever space, I think that's something that has really helped me in my own life as well. So it's interesting to hear you reflect on that. So I know you went to NYU, right? How was it, going into the city? I feel like NYU's it's very diverse. I think I'm not sure, right? But you were in a diverse city. Do you feel like being in college was a way for you to like really explore your interests, and how did that pan out?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really freeing. The reason I chose NYU as opposed to other universities where it was really twofold. One, the distance was kind of perfect for me. I grew up in northern New Jersey, so it wasn't too far from home, but it was far enough that, I wouldn't have to
They're not gonna
fear
come
having
banging on
my
your door
parents
every day
coming,
like, David.
exactly. Exactly. And then also, they gave me the opportunity, or maybe it's threefold then. Um, Academics were great, great reputation academically. And then third, they gave me the opportunity to play soccer there. So I played for, the men's, varsity soccer team as well. So, when I got there, it was a huge culture shock. Although it is definitely still a PWI.
Wait,
Was a
NYU
big
was
thing.
a culture shock?
Culture shock, yeah, I would
Okay.
say. Um, Although it's definitely in PWI, I came from a school, as you know, Dwight Englewood being, I would say, 50, 60% white, probably 30%, East Asian, and then about 5 to 10%, Black Hispanic, in other races and ethnicities. So for that reason, when I went to a school, and I went specifically to the engineering school, I was kind of surprised to see that there was a lot more diversity. And then when I started to put myself into spaces where there's going to be even more diversity. For example, I ended up starting the Latin dance club at NYU with a couple of friends. And as you can imagine, a lot of Hispanic people that ended up
Mm.
making their way there. Also, just being a part of the soccer team and seeing a really diverse squad, which was always nice to see. And then also being part of some of the BSU events, Black Student Union events, and the CSA events, the Caribbean Student Association events, and stuff like that.
What part of
It
the
was
Caribbean? I'm sorry to interrupt. What part of the Caribbean are your family is your family from?
Yeah. So my dad is from Guyana. Um,
Okay, GT. My children's dad, they're from Guyana. I say I'm half Guyanese too. My parents are Jamaican, but I say I'm half
Nice.
Guyanese.
Yeah, I'm very prideful about my Guyanese
Mhm.
side. And so am I on my Ecuadorian side as well. My mother's Ecuadorian.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, so I put myself in these spaces because I went through virtually my entire life prior, not really having the opportunities to even jump into a club with people who kind of looked like me, or be a part of teams that where the other players look like me. So when I say kind of culture shock, it was maybe shock is the wrong answer. It was just one of those feelings of, you feel like the grass is greener on the other side, and it really was. So
It's
I
like an
was, really,
opening. The world really opened up to you. And like you're now an
yeah.
adult. You can kind of make your own choices within it. Did you ever feel this pressure to balance the academics with the creative interest? I always hear you go to college. My parents are always like, you didn't go to college. You don't go to school to make friends. I'm like, well, technically you should because, relationships rule the world. But how were you kind of figuring out like you had a degree in applied physics, which is that's hard, right? I was a sociology major. I would technically say, if you look at it, apples to oranges, like physics is a little bit harder. How are you balancing the academics with the creative? And I say that because a lot of us listening in, we're trying to balance these different sides of us. So we'd love to hear about your focus and how you were working through that.
Well, first off, I'm going to say that, although physics definitely had its difficulties, I'm definitely of the mindset that any and every major um has its own strength. It's,
Physics
I
is
would be
harder,
a
guys. I don't care.
I don't think I could have studied your major, but yeah, I mean, look, to answer that question, um it was it's I mean that it's so interesting how the college and kind of university experience is, because they expect you as an 18, 19, 20 year old to master time management. You are, there's all these different um opportunities to be social, also potentially vices and all these other things that are pulling you in all these different directions. So although you are there for your academics, they offer all these other services, and they offer all these kind of student body initiatives for a reason, because you want it's good to be well rounded, and you should also try to pursue that as much as you possibly can. But I think it's very unfair. Maybe unfair is not the right word, but it's just very difficult to ask that of somebody who just arrived on a campus away from family from potentially the first time, and have to figure that all out by themselves. So I think my view is always try to find a balance. I feel like just in general, that's always kind of it's got to be a part of the model, at least if it's not the entire model. And for me, it was okay. School was always first. Then secondly, for me was soccer. I felt like I needed to make sure that I was in, the best shape possible to make sure I could perform well for the team. And then, lastly, I basically filled in my free time by joining those clubs, by potentially starting those clubs, and making sure that I was fulfilled in kind of every aspect, of my life. And I think actually the last point I'll mention, is, you know, maybe tapping into to kind of both sides of my mind. So as you can imagine, physics is very math heavy, very linear, but I always needed a creative outlet. So I ended up minoring in creative writing, poetry to be specific. So on the academic side of the ball, I had that balance. Athletically, I think it's a little different. You can't really create the same kind of analogy. You just got to make sure that you balance kind of the nutrition and the physical aspect. And then socially, I tried to, have the more active, social side of things. I had my friends that like to go out a lot, and then I had my friends that like to stay in, play Smash Brothers Brawl, watch some anime or something like that. And that also provided that balance that I was looking for on the social side of things. So that was really kind of my experience in college, I would say.
For you, did you ever think, and I know it's very hard to like kind of foreshadow your own life or kind of predict where you would be now, but did you ever think that you would be having this whole separate career in adjacent to a full-time job, right?
Absolutely not. I even how it started, I didn't think there was any chance I would end up becoming a DJ. Um,
Talk to us
for
about that journey. How did the
Sure.
DJ journey start?
Yeah, so I don't know if we can curse a little bit, but I was a broke ass college student. So I was working two jobs at the time. This was my third year of college, and I was open to a third. Although I was juggling a lot, I was open to it.
How did you do all of that, David? I'm just thinking you must have been that kid who was just always running, 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 like
I was, and,
everything.
and back then I could operate with little to no sleep. It's kind of biting me in the butt a little bit, but back then I felt like I could do everything, and I tried to. But also, I never wanted kind of my financial situation to hold me back, but I also needed to pay for school and all the all the rest of the stuff that kind of comes with that. So yeah, I was doing a coding internship, and I was also a waiter at a restaurant in Harlem. And my cousin, who was a DJ, was off to law school, and she had told me that she didn't really have any time anymore. She was going to basically kind of hang up her cleats, and she was ready to sell her equipment. So I was on the phone with my dad around the same time that she had asked me this question, and I told him, oh, it's kind of funny that, that our cousin asked me to do this, but I don't have the time. I'm doing this, that, and the other. and I'm already working 2 jobs. And he was like, David, just I think it might be worth just giving it a chance. You seem to have a really good ear. You put yourself, like you've grown up in situations where you have a pretty eclectic, and I don't really like that word much, but a pretty eclectic music taste. And because of that good ear, you never know what kind of success you may have with it. Just give it a try. And I said, you know what? You're probably right. Let me just give it a try. So, she sold me the equipment for the family discount. I ended up, just starting by doing, the events at, for some of the multicultural clubs, at NYU for the low. It's funny. My first event was, and actually the timing is kind of wild. It was a pink party for basically the Black Women's Club at NYU. I think it was called West. I'm not sure if any listeners are from NYU that remember, but it was supposed to be if I get my math correctly, it was supposed to be a 5-hour party. And they paid me little to nothing. It's my first event. But
everyone starts out somewhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I was just happy to get anything from it, for my first event, and it was daylight savings. So actually it ended up adding an entire hour. The clock went back. And it was the longest, sweatiest kind of 7 hours of my life. But I ended up really enjoying it. I, I feel like I'm somebody who, and actually it's funny we talk about Dwight Englewood. I can't remember the name of the speaker, but we had a speaker who was really big in community service and kind of dedicated his life to it. And somebody asked him, and he said this in kind of his speech, why do you like doing, community service? Why do you spend so much time doing this? And his answer was, I'm selfish. I enjoy seeing other people happy so much, and even being a part of, providing that kind of happiness, that I will never not want to be able to provide and have that feeling of, giving other people joy. And that, to be honest, is kind of the best way that I could think to describe why I like DJing so much. It was 7 hours. I was sweaty. I was exhausted. And also the mental gymnastics too, of trying to make sure you know exactly what song to play.
How do you even play? I couldn't imagine it. Like, we all have our unique skill sets. I could not imagine trying to figure out like the vibe and just 7 hours of songs, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And just so much planning ahead as well, but then also making sure you have the context of each song. You're not playing a song too long. You're not cutting a song too early. Those kinds of things, decisions need to be made always. But yeah, I just noticed, like, I loved seeing the people dancing in front of me, having a good time, singing their hearts out and everything. And, at that point I was like, you know what, I could see myself doing this long term. I'm not sure what, in what capacity right now, but I'm going to do my best to try to build kind of my personal brand as much as possible. And that's how it started.
That first gig, what would you rate your DJ level? Were you a beginner? Did you know how to use the equipment? Were you just like, okay, next song, right?
Yeah. So I'd spent months prior building up my DJ library. And learning the basics, watching DJs online, also doing what I call field work, which is going out and listening to other DJs, seeing how people respond to, to each of the songs and everything. So I was definitely a beginner because I had no, actual experience, but I feel like I had all the right ideas in my head. So I was able to, when I go back and kind of try to explain how my first kind of year or two of gigs went, it was my song selection and my choice of when to play those songs, kept me getting rebooked and rehired. But my transitions were absolutely horrendous. I go back, and luckily I did end up recording some of those past sets, and I can't listen to more than 2 or 3 minutes without cringing, because there was no smooth transitions. There's no creativity with it. But the good thing is I at least cut off that song when I needed to, and I played the next song at the point where you should start, right? So that's what got me, that's what got me seeming like I wasn't such a beginner DJ, even though I definitely was.
This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by McDonald's. Fashion loves Black style, but Black designers don't always get their shine. That's why McDonald's has partnered with 5 rising Black designers and 5 industry insiders to help change more than clothes. The designers have hit culture's biggest red carpets and runways and connected with fashion industry insiders for ongoing career-changing mentorships, all while building their brands and bringing along fans like you. Plus, there's so much more to come. Want to see what's happening with these designers on the come up? Follow their journey on Instagram at We Are Golden. This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by McDonald's. So y'all know that the OG Big Mac is a fan fave, and for the first time in 50 years, the Big Mac sandwich now comes in chicken a la the Chicken Big Mac sandwich. I know you're probably thinking, what? Yeah, there are now 2 Big Mac sandwiches in the Mac lineup to enjoy. Since the OG Big Mac will always remain an icon, the Chicken Big Mac is here only for a limited time. So let's get into it. What is it? The Chicken Big Mac is 2 juicy chicken patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles on a sesame seed bun. And then you got the Big Mac, that's 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun too. So I'm so excited to try the Chicken Big Mac because I'm already a Big Mac girl and I love chicken, so it just makes sense. And of course I'm going to get a medium fries to go with it and just hope that one of the kids don't eat them before I do. The Chicken Big Mac, it's not a Big Mac. Get it while you can at participating McDonald's. Hey Dream Drivers, if you're like me, you know the struggle of dealing with a wild child who just won't keep their diaper on. That's why I'm excited to share my favorite Pampers Cruisers 360, the ultimate baby-proof diaper for your little explorer. Pampers Cruisers 360 features a 360-degree stretchy waistband instead of the usual tabs. This unique design helps prevent your baby from removing their diaper, which means no more unexpected messes. And trust me, this is a game changer. One of the best parts, Pampers Cruisers 360 offers up to 100% leak-proof protection with a gap-free fit no matter how your baby moves. It's super easy to remove too. Just rip the sides, roll it up with a disposal tape on the back, and you're good to go. Try Pampers Cruisers 360 with the new Pampers Free and Gentle wipes for healthy baby skin. They're made from 100% plant-based cloth that grips the mess, with Free and Gentle mess meets its match. Add Pampers Cruisers 360 and Free and Gentle wipes to your cart or pick them up at your local grocery or big box store. Say goodbye to messes and hello to more fun with Pampers. Remember, for trusted protection, trust Pampers, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. What were some other things that you were doing in the early days to really build your personal brand and get those first few gigs? What kept that momentum going for you?
I would say the hardest part is definitely just starting. And then the second part is at least having for me, it was having a rough plan of how I wanted to create my own footprint. So and I think I even still have a post on Instagram that kind of is just a big picture of me DJing and said, hey, look, the hardest part was to start. But the best part so far, since then has been just kind of the support from friends and family. So, the plan for me really kind of building my personal brand, kind of, my footprint in the DJing world was practicing my craft as much as possible. Just want to make sure that the product is as valuable as it possibly can. And then additionally, pushing out content, in the best way possible. And obviously that's going to look different for every industry, but for DJing, it's playing music, playing around with music in a creative way. People like, novelty will always sell. So if they hear something or they hear a song that maybe sounds familiar and maybe gives them a nostalgic feel, but it's mixed in a way that, kind of tickles their brain in the right way, that kind of angle will always sell well, I think, in virtually any industry. So, that was how I started. I started putting out my own mixes and everything. I started posting a lot on social media. I recognized kind of early how important the presence on social media was. And that was really kind of my first, kind of the stepping stones I thought, would do the best for me, to get started.
So it seems like you had like a marketing strategy early on, right? You might not have been calling it that, but like you were really being strategic with like, all right, how am I going to position myself, right? And what's your name? What's your DJ name? Is it DJ David?
So it's just DJ David now. But actually starting off, it was DJ Vice.
Okay.
Yeah. And twofold for that. Like it's similar-ish to my last name being Victor. And then also me not knowing in what capacity I was going to become a DJ, I thought maybe the word Vice is party-esque, party-related, so maybe it'd be a good word for it. Come to find out a little bit later. And also I found that I knew earlier, but I thought our music was kind of different. There is another DJ Vice who has quite the footprint in the DJ game already.
He was like, listen, DJ Vice #2, you gotta go. Right? Get your own name. It's funny, in college. No, keep going.
Oh, I was gonna say I only really changed it because and I guess we'll probably get to this later. I almost exclusively just became a weddings and private event DJ. And I think the word vice, when you're thinking about, weddings, is not really the right kind of word association we want there. So I said, you know what, let me just go with, my first name. I feel like people's names sometimes can be their brand. So to the extent in which I don't really love my last name. That's a whole other story. But I said, let me just move forward with just DJ David for now, and that would work.
You said weddings and events. Was that the dream niche for you?
I don't think it was, but I ended up finding a lot of comfort in it. So kind of like I mentioned before about how, kind of nothing makes me happier than looking out, into the crowd and seeing just everyone dancing, having the time of their lives. I feel like that feeling is, you know, is even greater when it's at a wedding because you have that extra feeling of everyone's there to celebrate love. As corny as that might even sound,
It's not corny. Love is beautiful.
it is. You're 100% right. So once I got kind of my first taste of it, I did not see myself stopping, and I don't see myself stopping. It's beautiful to be a part of those, these kinds of ceremonies, receptions, and just celebrations, I should say. And like I said, once I got into it, I didn't really look back. So I wouldn't say when I first started DJing, that's the sub industry that I saw myself, being the most active in. But that's definitely what ended up happening, especially post pandemic, and I have not really looked back.
And there's also, if I'm thinking like, I work in marketing full time, I'm also thinking strategically, people are still getting married, right? Like, so you'll always have, and now that the world has opened back up, event spaces are open back up, people are going to be having events, people are always going to be getting married. It's like, and people have budgets for that, right? It's not like, like your little BSU events or stuff like that where people are trying to
Yeah.
nickel and dime you. People will pay you can put together packages that people won't try to hustle you for as much. I don't know the weddings industry. I don't know if they're like that, if brides and grooms are like that, but
Yeah.
just imagining that it's also a very like, it's good to have a niche. But let's talk about TikTok. Let's talk about this club one bedroom, right? Like, what was the genesis of that? I don't know which one came first, the TikTok or the club one bedroom and that concept. But talk to me about how social media helped you find a new audience.
Club 1BD, it happened relatively organically. I have always been one who likes to host parties, likes to host, whether it's a game night, whatever it is, I like to host. So it was February of this year, and as people might be able to surmise, during the winter time there aren't too many weddings, so it was downtime for me. And I had the time. I said, you know what? I want to throw a party. And also, I had been on YouTube, I had been on Instagram and TikTok, and I'd seen that there were some kind of apartment parties that were going on online. They looked really fun. And I'd had a million and one friends tell me, hey, you got to do something like that. Like, you're a great DJ. That could be really cool. So I tried to make a bit of a, production out of it. The first one that we did was live streamed. I had a friend at the time who was starting kind of his live stream production. So we live streamed it. He had these switchers so that we could switch from angle to angle, which I thought was pretty cool. And I made sure to get some of my closest friends and, one or two DJs also, and a DJ that I was mentoring at the time to give her the stage. And we threw the event. We recorded it, and surprisingly enough, although I was just using iMovie and I didn't know really how to edit it all, I took the clips, I made a quick edit, and the very first video I posted from the event went viral.
Which one was this?
So this one was a transition I did from Missy Elliott "Work It" into "Get Me Bodied" by Beyonce, and I played around with the this to kind of beat the go rat tat ta, and I looped that rat tat ta, and then kept going, and then I brought in the "Get Me Bodied" beat and transitioned into it, and it was, it's funny when you think about the genesis of Club 1BD, that I love that it started organically, because I want the brand, I want the community to be as authentic as possible, to feel as much like a house party as possible, and just to kind of evoke that comfort and welcoming spirit of what it's like to just kind of party with your friends and family. So the fact that it kind of started in that way, I thought was kind of indicative of what was to come, and it seems like it kind of turned out that way as well.
Why do you think the people love this so much? And I'm thinking about if you could like take a 360, let's say you're looking at it from a 360 perspective, you're an outsider
Mhm.
looking in. What do you think were the core elements of why it went viral and then what made people want to tune in more?
Yeah. There are a couple of reasons. So this is kind of a funny comment that I saw in a video, maybe from last year. But I follow a few Caribbean pages, or pages that post kind of Caribbean content, carnival content, things of that nature. And there was, I think it was the Uber Soca cruise. And there was this white couple, older folks, maybe in their, 50s or 60s, and they interviewed them and asked, "Hey, like, why do you make your way? Why do you decide to come to this event, even though they seemingly did not really know the music?" And their answer was, to be honest, we just like seeing Black people have a good time. And for me, that was shocking. For a lot of people, it was shocking.
So Black people having a good time, so
I
we're
mean,
that cool. That's why.
it's honestly, I don't disagree with that part, right? But I think there is an aspect of that plays into the success of Club 1BD. Just seeing our people have a good time, just, almost feeling like you're there, seeing a lot of the very familiar faces and expressions of reactions to good music or reactions to good dance moves, hyping up people that are dancing and stuff like that. It feels like you're stepping into Black culture, in a way that's vulnerable and extremely comforting. I feel like that's one huge aspect as to why it's been received so well. Another reason is people know good music. So if you're playing good music, if you're being creative with it, like I said, novelty sells. So when they hear something that maybe sounds a little nostalgic, but you put a spin on it that makes it kind of tickle the brain in the right way, that will always be received well as well. And then I would say lastly, the way that we um post and show the content. There's a page called Best of Vogue. I think it's like two E's on it. And for years, they've been posting ball and ballroom content, voguing content. And something that always made me laugh when, I had friends that would show me videos and stuff from them is how they would find the reactions in the videos, maybe zoom into somebody's hand who's going like this, and you get like, the tracking of the hand and all that kind of stuff. And it added a sense of humor to it all. So I always gravitated towards that. I've also seen a lot of different memes and videos where they zoom into different people's reactions or things that are funny in the background, that kind of stuff. And those always made me laugh and a lot of my friends laugh. And I said, you know what, if we can add that from the editing aspect of all these clips, that could be kind of the cherry on top. And I feel like that helps tremendously, especially with engagement, people seeing a funny face or seeing a reaction like, oh, that was a reaction I made when I watched this video. It just all feels almost familial. It feels familiar, and familiar kind of in the best way.
It's funny because I've been working with like one of my coworkers. I want to say she's a TikTok star in like the media. She does like film and TV reviews. And so I was just talking to her. I was like, Laura, like, tell me what I need to be doing on TikTok, what I need to be doing on social to kind of really build engagement. And she talked about that, like into the familiar, tap into like those cultural moments that people want to come back to. So hearing you say that is encouraging, but I'm just like, damn, I need a team. Do you have a team?
I
Are you
don't.
doing this all by yourself, or like did you have to learn how to kind of edit and do all that stuff yourself?
Yeah, I did. I do kind of have a two-person team, I would say. It's myself and my event curator, who has also learned kind of how to edit in the style that I edit, which has been fantastic. Also my sister for some times, try to keep it in the family a little bit. While her computer was working, and she was able to edit one or two of my videos as well. But essentially, I kind of developed the editing style for all the videos. About 90% of the videos for Club 1BD and all the videos of mine, other than the one or two that my sister did, I've been the one to edit it. and I learned myself. I learned in iMovie first, just because that was a free resource I could quickly throw things onto. And I was relatively familiar with it because of some past projects I had done. And then I realized because of they aren't, iMovie just isn't at the point yet where they can support full quality, 4K videos, if you edit with them, and then also just not have the type of capabilities that Premiere Pro has. So that's what I use now. And I was extremely self-taught. I just, I threw it in there. I watched a couple of videos. Luckily, it wasn't too many videos I needed to see because I already knew what specific techniques I needed to know, and I just practice and practice. And now virtually every video, luckily my curator is doing a few videos as well, but virtually every video I edit myself, and definitely takes a lot of time, but it's fulfilling.
I was going to say that the time management, that skill that you had to learn in college, definitely comes back into play. With along everyone's dream driving journey, there's always going to be challenging moments. I don't want to say this is challenging for you, so I'm just going to throw it out there. What I assume to be challenging is definitely probably managing full-time job, the DJing, everything else you have going on. But beyond that, like, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you're facing right now, and then how are you working through them?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest hurdle is what maybe I used to see as kind of my strength, which is the time management. It's the balance. The for example, every video that I edit, it takes me between 4 and 6 hours to do. Even though it's only 30 to 40-second clips, always, it takes me between 4 and 6 hours. And I'm somebody that once I put my head down, I start doing something, even if it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Once I get in the groove, I don't really want to stop. So I lose out on a lot of sleep sometimes when it's 5, 6 in the morning, but at least now I got that really nice video that might do well. So I would say it's really the time management. It's also being able to let go a little bit of ownership. I don't feel like I'm somebody who needs to own everything, but I do want to keep the authenticity of the brand. I do want to keep the style and the value of the brand, and keep it at kind of the tier that it's at as much as possible. And I know for a fact that I can keep it there, at least keep it aligned to the vision that I have. But it's very hard for me to say, okay, now I'm going to have you try to, own this part, or you can have that responsibility. So learning how to delegate a little bit more so that I can be better with my time management. Recently hired an assistant that's helping tremendously. Just kind of clear out the inbox, filter out some of the stuff I don't need to see, some of the stuff I do need to see, bring to my attention. And that has helped. That's helped so much. It's unbelievable. But right now it's trying to keep my foot on the pedal, especially knowing and understanding the nature of the business. The entertainment business is really, it really kind of asks the question of how many times can you do it? You had that one viral
And it's
video.
also, you can't outsource yourself, right? You are the DJ. Like, you don't want to go be an AI DJ now, right? Or somebody's like,
Yeah.
who knows? I don't know. Maybe that's the future. Who knows? Hopefully not now, but like, it is a business where it's a service-based business, and you are the person who's providing the service. So
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to show up to be there.
Yeah. It's really, I would say kind of it's 3 jobs. It's the 9 to 5 job. It's the DJing aspect of it. And then it's the Club 1BD brand building. Now, granted, there's obviously a lot of brand building with my DJ stuff as well. And there's a lot of overlap, but those do feel like 2 different jobs.
Why are they 2 different? Is it because like Club 1BD can morph into something else? I know you guys have a Halloween event coming up, right? Where that's at a bigger theater, bigger venue, right? So how do you see, what's the question here? What's the difference? And then how do you see that building on to the next step of DJ David?
Me kind of building my reputation within the industry looks like me making sure that I stay on top of trends, that I stay as knowledgeable as possible, for the industry and the music. And then also I'm constantly being creative. So, listening to different music and seeing how I can play around with it, thinking about the next transition that might sound good, and trying to formulate try to formulate new sets and just make sure that I'm still kind of connecting to kind of my audience and to people in general as much as possible. But then on the Club 1BD side of things, there's a lot of kind of administrative kind of housekeeping stuff that's needed. Also just brand building. I want this party series to grow as much as possible. I want also it to be, I also want it to be widespread. I want that comfortable feeling, the comfortable house party feeling to be in many places as possible. And fortunately enough, we are at the point now where we're thinking about, doing a tour for next year, so that so we can have some events in other places. And then hopefully it can continue to grow to the point where DJ David does not need to be um, so much of a package deal with Club 1BD. I want it to kind of be a standalone product where I can pop in and DJ sometimes, but ultimately just for it to become a platform for other DJs, Black POC DJs, especially women DJs as much as possible. So that's really what I want to do. But as you can imagine, trying to market myself is one thing. And that can be great. But trying to market an entire party series that we want, to become as global as it possibly can, that's a whole different ball game.
Whole
So
different beast. But you're doing it, and I feel like a theme that I've heard throughout your life is you've always been very ambitious and very determined and very driven. So I'm pretty sure that like whatever you put your mind to, I don't want to be like that older person, like you could do it, but I definitely see that it's gonna be a success. What tips would you have for listeners, for dream drivers listening in who are stuck in neutral? They have this idea, they have this thing, but they just can't figure out how to get it to pop.
try to have the right attitude, towards, towards it all. It's really hard when you feel stagnant, you feel like things might be plateauing, to not just look to grab the numbers. I feel like no matter what the industry is, the audience is not ignorant. They can see through the inauthenticity of posting. They can see, okay, you're just trying to get those numbers, you're staging that just to try to get clicks and all that. Stay kind of true to kind of your product, and then try to make your product as valuable as possible. I feel like it becomes if you can get whatever you're selling to the point where it's so valuable, it's so big that it's too hard to ignore, then even if you're lacking in other areas like the marketing aspect, or the posting aspect, there's a whole kind of algorithm you have to follow and all that kind of stuff. It'll still break through because you made sure that your brand, whatever you're selling, is that good. I would say that's got to be the focal point of it. You can sell as much as you want, and let's say your marketing strategy is fantastic, it's perfect, you get those customers, but once they get to that product, word will spread like wildfire. You won't have any returning customers, and very quickly, kind of that reputation will be lost. So it's really better to do it the opposite way. Learn as much as you can. Try to be a sponge as much as possible, a student as much as possible, and watch. And this has really kind of helped me the most, I would say. Watch as much as you possibly can. Try to take the content that you enjoy, that you gravitate towards, and try to take the good bits and pieces that can apply to what you're trying to sell, what content you're trying to put out there, and try to implement it, in the best way possible. So that's what I would say is probably the best. Try to learn as much as you can from the things that you're already consuming. Try to
That's a
ask
good
yourself
point. Like,
why
why
you're
do I like
consuming
this?
it.
Like, deconstruct why you like something. Like, okay, this grabbed my attention because of A, this, or this, right? Like,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I think that has helped me the most. Like I mentioned, like I'll send, videos, entertaining videos and memes to people, and they'll send it to me. And the stuff that I enjoyed the most were the ones that had those funny reactions in the background, or they zoomed into, that thing that should not really be there. Or that funny dance move that person's doing in the background. And I took those and I took that kind of concept and I said, you know what, I can probably apply it to the DJing. And luckily the mix have been good. I have some really fun friends as well that do their own thing and they kind of sell the product for me, unintentionally. And then I just zoom in on what's kind of organically happened.
so what's next for DJ David? David, like, how do you see, I know you talked about the evolution of the brand of Club 1BD, still being a DJ, still rocking the weddings and events, but bigger, let's say we're driving down the road, we're on this long highway. What's ahead of you?
In my 9 to 5, I want to grow as much as possible. I do think that one reason why I've been able to grow, kind of on the DJ side of things, is because I've been fortunate enough to not have to depend on it, from a financial perspective. I see some other DJs that are unbelievably talented, but because DJing is their only job, they do struggle with having, kind of like I mentioned, the novelty of their work. they're DJing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that even though they have fans, their fans know they can just catch you in another day. And also you can only create so many different sets when you're DJing all the time. So I want to grow my 9 to 5 so I don't have to depend on DJing every single day. From a financial aspect. Then from a DJing perspective, I want to stay creative. I want to stay inspired. I want to, be in the know as much as possible so that I can bring that kind of nostalgic, creative, feel to every one of my sets. So I want to grow as a DJ as much as possible and also hone in my skills too. I have, several transitions that I'm happy with, but there's several more types of transitions that I want to become better at. And ultimately, I would say kind of the end goal for the DJing is I'd like to, maybe only DJ once every couple of months, kind of like I am doing right now, at least publicly. And, for those events to be really fulfilling. And, whether that's through Club 1BD or through something else, or maybe I just kind of do them ad hoc. I do want to keep DJing publicly. But, at a specific cadence, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then Club 1BD, I want that to go to get as big as possible. I think we have something kind of special there. The house party feel that everyone kind of yearns for. It even gets the introverts out of out of their house. Right. So that's why you'll kind of see me playing, a lot of nostalgic music.
That SpongeBob mix was good. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. So, playing stuff from some of the shows that we've grown up with, doing mixes on those. Sometimes I might just play, for example, on my last party, I played the That's So Raven theme song and everyone was singing their hearts out the whole time. It was really nice to see. So I want the Club 1BD brand to be kind of the quintessential, house party in a club, feel. And I do want to keep doing those private events too, so that we show that it happens privately and it happens publicly. And I want to bring that to as many people as possible. So that's kind of the goal there. I want that to be as big as possible. I think about, for example, kind of everyday people you probably heard of. So, kind of our niche, but at the scale that they're kind of at right now and maybe even bigger. I think that's really the goal for Club 1BD.
How are you fueling the confidence to keep this all going?
I would say in general, I'm somebody who's very slow to take, quick to give. And when when I am able to provide an experience to somebody and I do get that kind of feedback, that really kind of helpful feedback. Like, for example, somebody just commented on like my YouTube set from a long time ago, my first one for Club 1BD. And they commented, thank you so much for posting this mix up. I come back to it all the time, when I need to, this is really special for me. Please keep doing what you're doing and stuff like that. So it's really me seeing little comments like that, knowing that, not all comments are going to be great, but people are resonating well. Also hearing from my close friends and family how they're responding to it, how I go to these events, public events, and speaking to people there, and they're like, we saw this online, and we just really need to be a part of it, and it did not fall short of what our expectations were. So hearing how impactful it is really what kind of drives me. I'm nervous for every set. I'm nervous for every event, and I think that it's a healthy nervousness because I want to provide the best possible experience for people.
Well, I am so excited, or I'm just so thrilled to be able to just get inside your brain and talk to you about this. Thank you so much, David, for just sharing your journey. But before we get out the car, right? I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. Have a few questions for you that I just want you to. First thing that comes to mind. Some of these are fun. Some of these are a little bit deeper. But let's just talk. Favorite song right now, since you're a DJ. What's your favorite song?
Oh my gosh. Favorite song. All right, so this one I don't know the name of, which sounds crazy, but I'm watching this new anime called Dan Dan Dan. The intro of it is a Jersey Club anime. It's a Japanese Jersey Club song.
Okay.
So fantastic song. Highly recommend people listen to it.
All right. Favorite business resource, something that's really helped you grow your business, the business side of things.
I would say Instagram. That's a weird answer, but that's probably it. And then also Product Hunt for those who are in kind of the product management side of things, tech side of things. Just seeing what those kind of new innovative products are on the day to day. It's kind of, we mentioned like deconstructing certain things and what works, seeing kind of the new products, every other week, and how that can apply to my brand. That's really helped too.
Okay. And then, since you're in the business side, since you are entrepreneur trying to grow the financial side, best money making tip you have for other dream drivers?
Oh, I think mine's kind of counterintuitive, but basically, or maybe it's not. I would say don't sell your authenticity. It's very easy to kind of jump at the first couple $100 that you might be given, but you might be selling a product that's not really aligned with your industry. People can see through the inauthenticity. People will see that, this page is not really as organic as I thought it was. And if you lose that, then it's really hard to recover from it. So I would say stay as authentic as possible. So that, the larger kind of, money opportunities, will still stay on the table later on.
All right. And then last thing, if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So David, tell us 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
Be able to jump into other people's shoes, especially your consumers. What do you like, and how does that play into what your consumers will like? Secondly, like I mentioned a couple of times, stay as authentic as possible. People can see through the BS. People can see through the, kind of money grabbing, initiatives and stuff like that. If you want your product to sell as much as possible, keep it as authentic as possible. And then lastly, always be a student. Know that, although you might be popping right now, you might not be popping tomorrow, but, somebody else that might be doing it might be doing something that might inspire you. And there's always ways for things to grow stale. If you're learning as much as possible, you'll be better prepared to adapt as quickly as possible. So I would say always be a student, and always make sure that, that you're a sponge as well. And you're not just hearing these things, but you're actually trying to enact them as well.
These are the reasons why we need to be having these conversations. And I just think that if we're being honest, like, this is how we all can grow. So just thank you so much, David, for being honest, for sharing your story. And, from one bulldog alum to another, I'm proud. And it's just inspiring to see you really being able to put this DJ dream into motion. Side note, in college, I had my own DJ name. I thought I was it's so funny. I call myself DJ Raindrops for Raina.
I love that.
I was in a dance company. I didn't start it, but we were a hip hop dance company, and so I used to go around saying I'm DJ Raindrops. So that's my inside joke.
I love that. You gotta come back out if you want to be in Club OBD. Let me know.
All right. Well, thank you once again. And this has been a great conversation. I hope our dream drivers enjoyed it as much as I have.
Likewise. Well, thanks so much for having me. I love what you're doing, and I'm really glad I was able to be a part of it.
All right, so that's the wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guests' dream driving journey, as well as listening to their keys to success. If you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are or online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Today we have 2 very special guests on our program, introducing Lem and Lime.
Hello.
For Starry Lemon Lime Soda.
Thanks for having us.
What is Starry Lemon Lime Soda?
It's a crisp, clear burst of lemon lime flavor, and it's caffeine-free.
Between us, one of you must be a little more important to Starry than the other. Who is it?
We're both important.
So it could just as easily be Starry Lime Lemon Soda.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Oh, I like it.
So you saying hip-hop could be hop-hip?
Works for me.
Starry Lemon Lime Soda. Starry hits different.